Hello viewers and welcome to Daily Politics. I'm Hamza Idris. In Nigeria, the plight of at-risk children is a pressing concern that demands urgent attention. With over 47 million children living below the national poverty line, struggling to survive on less than 374 naira a day, and nearly 54 million children facing multiple deprivations in health, education and nutrition, the situation calls for effective interventions and policies to uplift these vulnerable young lives. President Muhammadu Buhari's administration had made a commitment to lift about 100 million Nigerians out of poverty and improve their lives for the better. This was also supposed to ease the challenges faced by at-risk children across the country. However, as the end of President Buhari's tenure is around the corner, it becomes crucial to evaluate whether his administration has fulfilled its promise and made a significant impact on the lives of these children and Nigerians in general. And to shed light on this matter, we have the privilege to interview Mariam Weiss, Hajia Mariam Weiss. She is the special advisor to the president on social interventions, social investments, and the project coordinator of the At-Risk Children Program. Her team has been at the forefront of implementing initiatives and strategies to support at-risk children, aiming at breaking the cycle of poverty and providing them with essential opportunities. Welcome to the program, Hajia.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're happy having you in the studio once again because it wasn't long when we hosted you.
Yes.
And you know, the other time, strictly it was about social interventions and all that. But we realized that there are more to that. And that's why we said, we pleaded that you should come again. We are happy you honored our invitation.
Thank you so much.
And viewers, we'll go on a short break. When we return, the conversation commences. Don't go away. Welcome back. Yes, Hajia, once again, welcome to the studio. The last time it was about general social interventions and all that. But this one, at-risk children, is actually like a specific program targeted at a certain vulnerable group. What informed it?
Well, there are statistics that are quite alarming on out-of-school children and street children and Almajiri children. And it's really, you know, we just call them children at risk. And the statistics range anything from 10 million to 20 million, according to UNESCO. And besides all of the statistics, every child is entitled to support. Every child is entitled to, you know, the opportunity of achieving their full potential. Unfortunately, these children have been around for so long that they've become like part of this landscape. And it has become critical because it's a clicking time bomb for us if we continue to ignore these children, you know. And so the office of the vice president did some brainstorming and decided to come up with this program that targets vulnerable groups, you know, minors, really, to see how we can integrate them into the society using resources that are available. Because when we started, we actually didn't have funds.
No funds for that?
No. We just took, approached different organizations.
This was in 2021, if I'm correct?
Yeah, 2020, 2021.
Yes.
End of 2020 is when we started. And it's been quite a fulfilling journey for us.
Okay, now what informed the decision to actually separate this from other interventions? I mean, we have quite a number saying, okay, we are targeting 100 million poor Nigerians, some say 50 million households, and all that.
Well, having gone through some of the programs that that target this same category of vulnerables, we realized quickly that it's typically about education. But our position is these children have been deprived of so much more.
Yes.
You know, so it has to be like a bouquet of opportunities that are offered to them, and especially because in the north, especially, the highest number are Almajiri.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's been very difficult to convince the Malams to allow these children to go into school, formal school. So we needed to come up with different strategies to see how we could convince them that indeed, Islamia is very important. The Sangha school is very important, but you need to allow these children to grow and thrive in today's context. And so we came up with different ideas of how to convince them, to persuade them. We came up with incentives, but we also looked at what is required by these children. So we needed to come up with a new plan for these children that also has issues related to mental health, even vision. Because, but one of the agencies that we engaged with said even in schools we have problems with children in public schools that have vision impairments. So we thought, of course, of skills, of sports, because you learn a lot from sports.
I saw that you have this, but before we get there, was there a baseline study that you conducted at initial?
The NESG, there's what they call the Policy Innovation Center that they institutionalized just last year. So we had worked with them under the Social Investment Program. Then it wasn't an institution, but now it is. So we approached them and asked them if they would do a baseline study for us. And they did. They compared information, data that existed in the states that we were in with states that we were not in. And they came up with a report. But that isn't to say we waited for that report. We knew it is evident.
It's an existential problem. So you didn't wait for the formal data.
But we did commission that, and they came up with very interesting findings. But of course, we've continued to roll with it to ensure that with the plans that we have, because we're not off course really. We're working to ensure that as many children as we can actually benefit. But there's so many structural problems, you know, that one needs to look at. There's no way the federal government can usurp the powers of the state government in terms of primary health care, primary education,
they have to show
agriculture. So the state needs to lead. So we had to devise an MOU to see how, you know, the responsibilities of each level of government.
You did that?
Oh, yes. Yes, we did.
I mean, you sat with the 30 state governors?
No, I was asked to make a presentation to the NEC, the National Economic Council.
As the coordinator of this program.
Yes, the vice president asked me to make a presentation, and some of the state governors called us to say, please come and help us with this. Some states have not called us, which is maybe fortuitous because it's with time, and we're doing it in phases, and we didn't have the money in the beginning. So it was, you know, it's been a learning journey, and we had to, of course, engage the community, the traditional rulers, seek for their advice, for their support, the faith-based leaders, the civil society that exists, the state itself, the state officials. There was so much to do to try and understand the dynamics in that state.
And someone working on the street, if he sees ACP, because it looks like AC and AC, you know, ACP, and you call it at-risk children, people will ask questions in specific times. Who is at-risk child?
So, as I said, we needed to engage the states. So we have a stakeholder engagement at a point with the state where they call the different categories of stakeholders in that state. So it could be from everywhere. It's the traditional rulers, community leaders, youth, and some of the children too. And they tell us what their vulnerabilities or who those that are vulnerable are in that state, bearing in mind that they have to give us data. You understand? So we've seen adolescent girls in marriages, we've seen children on substance abuse, we've seen almajiri, we've seen commercial sex workers, we've seen all kinds, a wide range. These are the people we want you to support. Okay, we're ready to support them. In respect
and you tag them at risk. Since this is what you know, the people at the grassroots.
And where you give us hawkers, we say, okay, give us the data of their mothers also. because there's an economic element there. If a girl doesn't go hawking, the mother doesn't get any money. So we want to also empower the mothers so that they will let the children remain in spaces where they learn. And the state also has to set up teams for implementation, an advisory board, and an implementation team. That implementation team consists of the different staff from the various ministries. Yes. And then the advisory board is people who may not even go beyond me. They may not be re-elected, or maybe the wife of the governor, or a very influential imam, or a grassroots mobilizer, people who are not part of the system, but who will ensure that who have influence and who will ensure that we have a solid foundation. They are the advisory board. The state also needs to commit to giving us data of the children and of youth in the communities. And then, of course, they need to set up what we call interim community hubs. These are places where the children converge in the communities where learning will happen.
Hello viewers and welcome to Daily Politics. I am Hamza Idris. The welfare of police officers in Nigeria has long been a topic of concern and debate. The challenges they face range from inadequate training and equipment to poor working conditions and low salaries. Recognizing the need for reform, the Nigerian government introduced the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, ACJA, in 2015. The act aimed to improve the criminal justice system, enhance the rights of the accused, and ensure fair and efficient trials. However, the effective implementation of the ACJA remains a challenge. As President-elect Bola Tinubu prepares to assume office, there is a growing expectation for his administration to prioritize police welfare and further strengthen the implementation of ACJA. And on the program tonight, we'll be talking to Dr. Salahuddin Hashim. He is the Director of Programs at Clean Foundation. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're happy having you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
We will go on a short break, and when we return, the conversation commences. Don't go away. Yes, Doctor, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
We deliberately chose this topic, and we want to narrow it to actually assault on the police. You know, is the topic of the town, and we have this feeling that, okay, amid the political wrangling, you know, struggle for positions, inauguration and all that, the people who are supposed to take care of us, they are actually under siege. And a case in hand is the alleged assault by Seun Kuti on a police officer in Lagos. What is your take on this?
Well, for me, I think it is rather an unfortunate incident. What we saw was a direct assault on a law enforcement agent, and that didn't in any way go down well with anybody who is particularly an advocate of a justice system that we have seen to be very fragile over the years, particularly coming from the back heels of police brutalization and the kind of citizens upheavals to be able to manage that situation. And of course, incidentally, Seun, who happens to be a personal friend.
Oh, Seun Kuti. You know him?
Oh, absolutely.
I've never met him.
Well, I mean, was also in the forefront of the police brutality campaign.
Yes,
and
the NSAS.
Absolutely, the NSAS. And to now see a figure as such now becoming quite, it is actually unbecoming of such incidents, and I think that is actually condemnable, irrespective of whatever the provocation was. It does not justify it. He's actually shown a thought leader in his own sphere. He's a model in a community of individuals who see him as somebody who can actually influence. So to now be seen or be caught in that web of civilian brutalization of a law enforcement agent is something that really should be condemned by all and sundry. And of course, for me again, is that unfortunately, the kind of work that our law enforcement agents do, like you mentioned in your intro, they are those who protect us.
Yes.
They do a lot of dangerous work. They don't sleep when every other person sleeps. They run marathon in terms of the timing. Some of them leave family and friends, go into deep fields to be able to protect Nigerians. But of course, what do they get in return? The states that should actually be there for them in terms of provisioning of welfare and making all the infrastructure for convenience available, seemingly is not readily available, because these guys, if you go into the detail of how they survive, I must tell you, it is actually the survival of the fittest, because a lot of them cater for as little as their uniform. They buy for themselves. A lot of them have to procure boots for themselves, because all of those things should be things that should be handed over to them on a periodic basis. Food has been a problem. You need to see the shelter where these people live. It's been a bit of a problem.
Why are they at the receiving end, especially in Nigeria? You've traveled widely.
Oh, yeah.
I have also traveled widely. I remember there was a time, I think it was in Germany, you know, from a city to another city, and some of us, the passengers, were already seated in the aircraft, and then they now, and we saw, of course, I noticed empty seats, you know, in the aircraft. It's actually a big Boeing.
But yeah,
unknown to me, it was reserved for, you know, police, you know, there. And when they were to get into the aircraft, it was announced.
absolutely.
And almost every other person in that aircraft stood, waiting for them to enter.
Fine.
And they entered, they sat before any other person. So why are we not having that here?
Environmental factors, unfortunately, and of course, maybe the absence of recognizing the kind of effort that these guys also put in. I led the advocacy for about 3 to 4 years ago.
Okay,
Yes, pushing for providing that public recognition for security agencies.
Like
and
the police,
EPIS
the
has
army,
started it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, even unfortunately, a lot of the time in this country we talk about human rights, but we don't speak to issue of human responsibility. When you
human
see,
right and human, they are two different things.
there are two different things. You know, there are citizens' responsibility.
Okay.
So you cannot be consistent about the issue of rights. Okay, the question of responsibility.
Claiming their right.
Yes, but there's a burden of responsibility on citizens. For instance, all of us are filing on an ATM queue.
Yes.
Now we see a man in uniform approach the queue, for instance, and he stood on the queue. I mean, citizens' responsibility suggests that you give him that right of passage. Let him just first of all say, because he's actually on an emergency work, and because of the kind of work he does, he needs to actually get back to his beat. He probably needed to just use the machine, do some quick transaction, and go back to his beat. A life will be saved wherever he's going to be stationed, you know. So those kind of things, but unfortunately, because of the perception we have about law enforcement agencies and the experiences we have had over the years, the moment you encounter them, you have this first proxy to say, look, maybe this guy wants to intimidate and all of that. And I've seen a lot of situations where citizens have said, no, let him also go and join the queue. But now EPIS, to be very honest, is now being very proactive. They announce boarding and they call men in uniform first, the army, the police, that if you are a man in uniform and you are actually on top of it, please proceed for boarding first before they call women with children and operate. So that for me is something prioritized. So it's actually creating some kind of imagined model of thinking, changing the mindset of institutions to now know that we need to give them that place of recognition in the public space and in some compartment of what we do, so that at least despite the difficulty they face, because they're actually caught in a dilemma. Citizens see them and dislike them because of the experiences they had with others in the past, okay? The states that should actually be their protector have now become an adversary to them also. So you abandon them with all of those welfare and issues that we have mentioned earlier. So they are caught in between. Okay, so unfortunately, that is the circumstances that security and law enforcement agents have found themselves. So, but there is always a way of dealing with it. And the way of dealing with this is trying to create a system and a mechanism that helps to modernize the thinking of both citizens and the state in terms of the management of security agencies, particularly the police, in this particular country. And of course, that was actually how the ACJA was actually giving birth to.
Okay, yeah, before we get deep into the ACJA, at what level did we miss the road? What am I trying to say? Whenever there is an issue involving the police, for instance, and the civilians, the general impression out there is that the police are the aggressors.
Yep. Yeah.
We never give them a chance to say, look, these people, they are there for us. Why can't we listen to them? At what level did we actually miss the road?
Social construct. It is actually the perception. Well, maybe not a perception now, maybe the reality of the fact that police was actually established for regime protection.
Yes.
That the police actually, from pre-colonial time,
yes,
were actually designed to protect the colonial masters. Okay? So that thinking has actually now dovetailed into what we have in modern day, where the police and other institutions has now been created to be perceived as being there to do the bidding of the master against the citizens. So that in itself was where that erroneous mindset actually came to be. And of course also because of previous experiences. Yes. And you know too well that we have talked severally about the activities of the IRT, the SARS, and all of those, and the kind of event and the expose that we have also seen, and the several revelations, and the kind of nefarious activities of not just only police officers, but security officers in general. We have talked about a security man, an army, for instance, who was given a lift, for instance, got midway, killed the owner of the car, and attempted to take the car just between. So you realize that there has been a lot of ills in the society that has been perpetrated by these people. And again, it is as a result of the long-term military interregnum in this country. The attempt by the military to somewhat, invariably with every sort of circumspect, incapacitate the police as a way of either reducing the potential coup d'etat or not allowing any sort of facilitation of that particular process.
President Muhammadu Buhari, in the valedictory Federal Executive Council meeting at the State House, Abuja, thanked his cabinet members for their support during his sojourn as Nigeria's president. Take a look at the excerpts.
Strength and wisdom to follow the affairs of this nation. I am so happy that try as many did to blow us off course, you all remain steadfast to the goals we set for ourselves. You buried all efforts to break our collective resolve and remained true to our stated objective. I say thank you all. I am proud to say we gave governance our best and have bequeathed a solid legacy which the Nigeria we have all prayed for and are hoping will be built sustainably.
And to discuss these issues and more, we are joined by Mr. Kehinde Amadu, who is our in-house analyst here at Trust TV and also the Villa correspondent. Very importantly, he has been there for over 22 years. He has seen it all. We're also joined by another analyst of the house, Malam Yusuf Zongo, who also doubles as the opinion editor of the Daily Trust. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Happy to have you at this hour.
Thank you.
You are welcome once again, and we'll go on a short break. Once we return, the conversation commences. Don't go away. Welcome back. Mr. Kende, we deliberately brought you today because you've seen it all, as I said at the, during the introductory part of the program. 22 years. Yes. Maybe we should start with you. Are you leaving the villa now, or you will go for a break? When the next president gets in there, you now join him. Even though it's at the instance of the management, right?
Yes.
But how has it been covering this very important seat of power, in Nigeria?
We've had different presidents, different attributes, different characters. The underlying thing about it is that it's a security environment.
Yeah.
So there are so many things that happen within that are deliberately closed in.
Okay.
And it therefore depends on the character of the president to see how open the administration is. But the first attribute or character of government is to keep everything closed because it's a security environment. Yes.
And was there any difference between how Buhari, of course a general, compared to Jonathan and maybe Yar'Adua, handle the facility?
Yes.
In terms of security architecture?
Yes, there was a difference. Of course, President Obasanjo being a former military man,
yeah.
You see similarities between his style of government and the style of government of President Buhari.
Oh, there are some similarities?
There are similarities.
Okay.
In the way some issues are kept in the dark, or kept secret. And then they also knew the architecture of government, so they knew how to step around all these things. So you couldn't really capture them. They did what they felt they liked, and they didn't really pay heed to popularity.
This is in comparison to maybe Jonathan,
yes,
for instance. Yar'Adua is entirely an enigma.
He's an enigma. The first president that actually resonated with everybody he worked with. And it's unfortunate his tenure was cut short by ill health. But you'd see that was a person that genuinely recognized people, would stop and greet.
Oh, Yar'Adua.
You stop and greet when he was going into any meeting, and when he was going out, would also stop and greet. I think he really appreciated that position he was in. Compared to Jonathan, who really didn't believe he was president all throughout his...
How do you mean? He didn't believe he was president. I can see Malan maybe we should cut you to take from him.
I think it's surprising if you say, well, it's not that surprising because he was has been a child of circumstances at the
initial. From deputy governor.
Even from local government chairman to deputy governor.
Then governor by accident, right?
Governor by accident.
Then vice president.
Vice president.
Unprepared of sorts?
Unprepared. Well, you could
because
say
he won, I think he won governorship, right? He wanted to go back as governor.
He was supposed to go back as a governor. Suddenly he was yanked off and sent to
the way they yanked Atiku, I think, in 1999. He ought to have gone
for governor.
Yeah. So it's not that surprising if he behaved the way he did, because these are very delicate positions which, if you're not groomed, for the job, or you don't have that background of administration and mixing with various kinds of people, you can imagine somebody from Bayelsa, which is not a big state, like Lagos. You can say somebody from Lagos can just try to cope much easier than somebody from.
You served as editor-in-chief of, News Agency of Nigeria. You also reported from abroad. We have all gone to the U.S. I know that I also exercise around the White House, in the morning or in the evening. You see people going around the White House doing exercise. I'm part of, nobody will disturb you. can you go around the villa? What is the
No, I think initially, I think back in the 90s, we used to pass there through the villa, you know, if we're coming to work.
Yes.
This presidential villa?
Yes, this presidential
There was
villa.
the southern gates, which you will pass through.
You can cross.
From this side of DSS,
Yes.
you enter where the vice president's house is, you bus out at Spring Court, and nobody will say anything to you.
Yes.
At 1 a.m. you could pass there.
So
then.
was it from 2009? Maybe.
No,
It was
the onset
during
of the Boko Haram.
the Boko Haram.
Boko
Yes.
Haram,
Because
that's when
2009, 2010.
That's when that
that's
gate
when
was
it
closed,
was,
yes.
that. So,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah. Now, very surprising. The valedictory today was closed door. Is it because of Boko Haram? As person who has been covering
This is the first time since 1999 that a valedictory session of FEC. And you know, it blew our minds.
You don't have to
wonder.
be part and parcel of that
why?
You know,
environment.
because a typical valedictory session is about you and your cabinet extolling each other
and extolling the nation.
and extolling the nation. And so to now make that a closed door session, there's no explanation for it.
You couldn't extract anything from that.
No, the NTA, of course, the government media were the only media allowed inside the council.
So like
chamber.
Trust TV now, Trust Radio, and the
Channels.
newspaper channels and all that.
Nobody. We were all waiting. And that is why when now they came to brief after FEC, it was now Lai Mohammed that gave us a brief rundown of what happened inside, and then Femi Adesina now issued a statement, which is...
What is your take on this?
And I'm just taken aback, honestly, because it was an opportunity for them to say bye-bye to the nation. And I don't know really what informed that. Well, we wouldn't say, you know, we can't pass a conclusion on it because they know what we don't know. But it's really strange to me.
And you
really
see certain
strange.
actions of governments give room for speculations.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you check, including some legacy media, in the afternoon, this story that, okay, Buhari has said bye-bye to them, and maybe many of them will, you know, head home from the villa because they have handed over from their ministry. Of course, we reported yesterday in our newspaper
that's
that
our lead story today.
Pantami and maybe one or two others, they have all done this thing. Now, what was the situation, for instance, when Jonathan was doing his valedictory ahead of handing over to a government that defeated him?
That's why I said different strokes. Let me start from Obasanjo.
Excellent.
When Obasanjo did his valedictory, it was an open valedictory.
And how open was it? I was in faraway Borno that time.
No, it was open. All the ministers extolled him and everything.
And you people were there?
And we were there.
At the gallery, right?
We were there. Not in the gallery, in the council chambers with them.
Okay.
We were there. They did the valedictory session, and he now dissolved cabinet ahead of...
After the valedictory?
Yes. He now dissolved cabinet. I think maybe they have learned from that because, you know, by dissolving...
he was the first president, you know, during this republic.
Yes. So because by dissolving cabinet that early, there are still some ministers that had to do some duties, like the foreign affairs minister, like all those ministers.
Because of the guests
that will welcome guests that came in. So I guess that being, you know, his dissolution of cabinet, you understand. And you remember he dissolved cabinet twice.
Okay.
Yes. He did it in 2003.
Memory.
And he did it in 2007. You understand?
Okay. Okay. I was thinking maybe ahead of his final tenure, he dissolved the cabinet twice.
No.
Okay.
No. So the mode of dissolution was about the same thing. He dissolved ahead of.
Even though he won.
Even though he won.
He didn't say, okay, go to your office. continue work.
No. It is all
since
ahead.
we have won again.
You understand? And I think his mind, but he now retains some ministers that would
help him, because it doesn't sound well if a visiting head of state comes in and then you say it's a permanent secretary that is receiving him instead of the minister. Hello and welcome to Daily Politics. I'm Hamza Idris. There was an altercation in the Green Chamber of the National Assembly on Wednesday between the Speaker of the House, Gbajabiamila, and his deputy, Idris Wase, about their proceedings. Speaker Gbajabiamila had instructed that the agenda for the day be shortened so that members could attend the commissioning of the National Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies, insisting that the schedule for Thursday should not exceed 2 hours, to end by 2 p.m. to accommodate the event. However, his deputy challenged his decision, expressing that it was unacceptable for the House to waste time on a commissioning ceremony while neglecting its legislative duties. Have a look.
The official commissioning of the permanent site of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies. Honourable members are invited to the official commissioning of the permanent site of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, scheduled as follows. Thursday, 25th May, which is tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. So Chairman, Business and Resources, let's make the order paper light for tomorrow, because we have this, it's very important. The permanent site of NILS is at 2:30, so it'll be good that we close at 2. Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, as we are winding up, we have lost quite a period of time. For a commission of a project, for God's sake, why do we have to shelve a lot of activity that we have just to go and witness commissioning of a project of NILS? I want to beg, sir, that we should do our functions. Those who have the interest to go to NILS, they have the right to go there. But our main primary and function in this parliament is to make law, and our citizens should be more priority to us, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Perhaps, DS, you don't...
I was part of those that went for this.
It was set up...
So I have every information and idea as what this...
by this same institution, the House, to go to NILS. What I said was, let's try and make it light and leave here by 2. If you want, we can resume at 10. We will do our work, but we will adjourn this House at 2 o'clock. I will witness NILS, because it is important to me. So, as I was saying, the second announcement.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Sir, the parliament is about us, not about I. Thank you very much. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is the first time in history I've been in this House for many years, perhaps even longer than anybody here. This is the first time in history that a Deputy Speaker will be challenging what the Speaker is saying. Let us rise for Aisha Duku's. I don't understand.
Wow. Well, also, Honorable Ikenga Ugo Chinyere, the spokesperson of the Coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP, along with 62 members elected from various parties, endorsed the Progressive Congress, APC consensus candidate, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas and Honorable Benjamin Kalu, for the positions of Speaker and Deputy Speaker, respectively, ahead of the upcoming 10th National Assembly elections. Imo is the member-elect to represent Ideato South and North in Imo State on the platform of the PDP. He now joins us on the program to expatiate on the motive behind the move to support Abbas and Kalu, among other issues. Honorable, welcome to our studio.
Thank you so much.
We're happy having you. We saw you firing from all angles, on the issue of the speaker. Anyway, you will tell us more.
I didn't fire.
All right.
It's Waseda is firing now.
Good. Viewers will go on a quick break now, and when we return, the conversation commences. Stay with us. Yes, before we go to your issue, the CUPP, you've seen the clip of Speaker Gbajabiamila and his deputy. Actually, they have taken themselves to the market square of sorts.
I don't think there's a market square. This is what Parliament is all about. But I think we'll agree to disagree. But I think there is a line we need to draw between where we want to be adopted as a choosing candidate, and then we end up not getting it, and then we want to put it on somebody, thereby making it look like it's a personal issue. What you're seeing is just very simple, and you know I'm a man that goes straight to hit it on the nail.
Okay.
Wasel came in with Femi Gbajabiamila, and you need to understand that it was one John Dye from Benue who represents George Akume that was being touted then as a possible running mate to Femi Gbajabiamila during the time they were campaigning, because they wanted.
This was 2013? 2019, yeah.
They wanted to balance the tickets. So you have a Muslim from the south, and then you have a Christian from the north central. But he insisted he wanted to be speaker so that he doesn't want to be deputy. And then last minute later on, they drafted Wase to be the running mate to Femi. So this they have had a good working relationship from what we see from outside. Now the whole thing that you see happening is that immediately it was alleged that Femi is supporting. And mind you, need to know that Femi is also a member-elect like me. So all of us have a right to decide, just like I'm supporting Benjamin Kala and Abbas. It's my right. So
yeah, we'll get to that, yeah.
So now he decides to pitch his tent with other candidates, and then I feel Wase couldn't handle that. Maybe he had expected that after Femi, he will inherit the chief.
So this altercation, about the commissioning is actually more than myths.
No. It's about a man who felt that he should have inherited the seat of speakership, and then suddenly somebody from somewhere comes on board. And then
but Honorable, what do you expect? I served you as you, the leader, humbly.
That's why I say you're seeing it as a personal thing. You're supposed to serve the country. This is a contest, a game of numbers. And let's make this very clear. Femi has only one vote when we get in on June 13. All of us are going to vote. So Wase should have found a way to speak to members to get them to buy into his project. Even if Femi is going to bring you, does that mean that all of us are going to accept to support you? So
maybe likely because of his pedigree. He's of course one among equals, but you can see while answering Wase, he said, look, I'm the oldest member. I think he wanted to emphasize
I think that one is not even the problem. The whole thing you are saying that the needs that he's trying to talk down on is a very critical institutional platform for lawmaking process. They're the one that gives all the, the intellectual build-up. They're the one that trained up. They're the one that did the induction. Even when Wase came, they're the ones. And the
new entrance.
The new entrance. And that's the lawmakers select, whether you're old or new, you need to be refreshed.
Yes.
And then they have been providing us institutional support. The law that is establishing them was made by the parliament. They are funded by the parliament. And you say that such a great institution that you should not go for the commissioning of their national headquarters, you want to downplay something that we need to elevate because they provide the institutional brain for our work. Just that, because let me explain to you what Wase thought was going to happen, and it's good you know it.
Okay.
With all due respect to him, he felt that maybe Femi should just go to the commissioning process alone and allow him preside today, so that he can change the House rule. That's what they want to do.
Which rule? Okay, they want to change the House rule
for the election. A rule that was made in 2019, printed by December 17, 2020, that went through the process of constitutional process of amendment. And even the constitution has also been amended to recognize the rule as a constitutional document. And then you waited for 2 and 3 years, and then as we are getting to election, you feel that if we go for the voting with the House rule that is in place, your candidate will not win, then you want to change it in 2 hours. And that's why Femi said, let's all go for the inauguration.
Is this an allegation?
No. He wanted to
some people are cooking that.
Because I know what is going on. So we shouldn't, because, okay, for instance, we have an election in 2 weeks.
Yes.
You want to change the House through just because you feel
it happened in 2015.
I don't know about that one, but you want to change the House through so they can enable you to have the kind of candidate you want. That is why he's angry with Femi, and he's trying to personalize it. It's not a personal issue.
Well, before we started this program, the last thing I read was that barring last-minute change, the greater majority, they call themselves greater majority, and you know them, they will announce Mukhtar Betara and Miriam Onoha, who is from your states, I guess, for Speaker and Deputy Speaker. Have you heard of that also?
Well, as long as I'm concerned, there is no greater majority right now. At the beginning stage, young lawmakers that came in newly like us wanted the opposition to come together to have one strong platform.
Yes, we hosted some of the
greater
new,
but people have different ulterior motive to gather some people like delegates and student union and use them for whatever they want. When they wanted to engage, bring in all the speakership aspirants, interact with them, discuss with them, and then come to a consensus by general decision. But some people started doing some funny things. That is why you see they are broken the opposition. I will not lie to you. The opposition is in 3 factions now. So you don't even have a greater majority. So there are different factions. And people have also allowed external politics to also set in. So now what do you have? You have to find like minds to come together so that in the midst of all these commotions, we can be able to ensure that competence and capacity and fairness and inclusive participation is not lost in the process.
Is that what led to what you are championing on the
100%, because as I speak to you now, we are at the verge of people who are promoting some selfish interests, trying to turn themselves into Democrats to now hurt more people. And what do I mean by that? I'm not a member of APC, so I don't agree, of course, for years to almost everything they do.
Yes.
But here they put on the table a zoning formula. Something is on the table, which is saying that the South that have not had the Senate president for 24 years should get somebody. The South should have deputy speaker. Though it's not enough, but there's something on the table that have been offered. And then the Northwest will produce the speaker, and so on and so forth. Now, what you do if you don't agree to this and what we've expected, so that we can work with them genuinely, is that we say, okay, because there's an Akpabio here, or there's a Benjamin Carlo, or there is a Tajuddin that you don't like, that we're still going to go to those areas where these positions have been zoned and say, okay, maybe Sati should produce Senate president if you don't want Akpabio. There is Izunaso. He may be backed by Uzodinma or something I may not like. I get him.
Yeah.
But there's an Izunaso. There's an Ojikalo. There's Benjamin, there's Patrick Wambeze. You didn't do that. Or you can say, okay, give them deputy speaker. There's Julius Ihombre. There's different people.
Quite a number, yeah.
The only way this can look genuine and for the interest of the country and stability is that you respect those zoning formulas and then choose your alternative candidate from those areas. But what you have now is that you don't want to respect the zoning formula and the candidate, not because you want stability or unity, but because you have made up your mind that you have your own people that you want to elect. You say you don't want Akpabio, but you want to elect Yari from the same Northwest. And then you want to elect Betera or Wase, or any other person from the same, or yes. So at the end of the day, you now, with all due respect to our Muslim brothers,
yes,
then you now have a Muslim president, a Muslim vice president, a Muslim Senate president, a Muslim speaker.
You think some people are cooking this?
That is the basis of this whole commotion. And I said, if you want people to buy in, if you want the opposition to buy in, if you really want this to be for the interest of fairness, equity, and justice, then when you don't want this, you provide something that is better to what you don't want.
Yeah.
But are you not telling me that when they say they don't want Tajuddin and Abbas and they don't want Akpabio, that going towards Yari or going towards Wase or Betera or Jaji is the best option? It is not the best option, and you know
maybe
that.
to you. To some, it may be the best option.
Maybe to some people who doesn't want inclusion and unity, it may be their best option.
Hello viewers and welcome to Daily Politics. I'm Hamza Idris. In a ceremony held at the State House Conference Center in Abuja, President Muhammadu Buhari bestowed the Grand Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, GCFR, Nigeria's highest honor, upon President-elect Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. Additionally, the President awarded the national honor of the Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, GCON, to Vice President-elect Senator Kashim Shettima. This event, which also included official handover of transition documents, took place on Thursday morning. Notably, Nigeria's upcoming 2023 presidential inauguration will mark the country's 7th consecutive democratic transition. Elsewhere, the Federal Executive Council on Wednesday approved contracts to boost power supply in various parts of the country. This, according to the Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, includes supply and installation of 33 kV substation equipment at Daura Emirate, Katsina State, awarded to Power Deal Construction Limited in the sum of 4 billion naira. He said the council approved the award of the contract for engineering, procurement, construction, and the financing of the implementation of 330 kV and 132 kV line transmission lines and 33 kV, 11 kV, and 400 PE distribution lines project under phase 1 of the Presidential Power Initiatives in favor of 2 contractors for $581.6 million, inclusive of 7.5% at the prevailing exchange rate, with period of completion 36 months, as indicated. Also in Kano, the largest city in northern part of Nigeria, so many things are happening as the NNPP, the Concourse's party, gears towards taking over power from the APC, which actually led the state for 8 years. And to discuss these issues and more, we are joined by Senator Rufai Hanga, who is going to represent Kano Central in the 10th Senate. And he joins us from Kano to have discussion with him. Distinguished Senator, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Yes, of course, so many things to discuss about Kano, but I think we have to discuss some of the things that happened in Abuja on Wednesday and today, starting with the award of GCFR on President Tinubu, President-elect Amin, and then Vice President-elect Shetima. Well, how did you see this? Maybe it's clearing the course, right, for formal handing over of power?
Well, indeed, yes, it is clearing the course for handing over. But, you know, it is traditional. It had happened all through. Any president and vice president were elected, before their swearing in and inauguration, they are normally conferred with these honors. So it's traditional, and I think there's nothing new, and which is okay. The only thing is we hope to have a very smooth transition, yes, and handover.
Does it add any additional, maybe, strength or prestige to people who have this?
Well, it doesn't. In fact, if I were to be conferred with this kind of honors they do, I wouldn't accept it, at least not from this government of Buhari, because they have honored every. I will not, because, well, at least not from this government of Buhari, because they have given honors to so many stupid and idiots.
Oh my God.
You see, the way they do it, I'm sorry my language, please. The way they do it, see what the last conferees, who were they? Were just friends to some people in the, around the villa. Yeah. You know, they gave it out to people. This honor is supposed to be to somebody who has performed, somebody who has achieved, somebody who has served the country very well, and somebody who has reached certain position in the society that was worth emulating. Yeah. So, but they have conferred to so many friends of their, I don't know. You see, it's just unfortunate. That is why we don't want to be associated with this kind of honors. You confirm with this, at least this government.
He took many years without conferring these different titles, and when he was to do it, I think it was really huge. considering the number of people. Will you suggest maybe for the incoming government to have certain criteria, I mean parameters that will be backed by law, that if someone does not attain those parameters, no matter how highly placed he or she is, should not be conferred with such a title?
Well, certainly there are certain parameters. You can't have something like this without conditions and parameters and procedures to do it. It's just that the going government is like that. They do things offhand. You see, they don't go by the rules. They don't respect the rule of law. I have evidence for that. You see, there are rules. I'm sure the incoming government will not do that. The previous governments did not do that. And this is a fact.
Yes, so many things happened, especially on Wednesday, which I'm sure captured your attention also. For instance, the award of multi-million naira contract. You can see, we just picked the power sector to have your take on that, considering that not quite long, a former minister of power was actually arrested by the EFCC over 20 billion, scam. I mean, fraud in the power sector. And now here we are. Just yesterday, many contracts awarded, including one worth over 4 billion in Daura. You think they want to make the place conducive for the president, maybe? I mean, outgoing president.
See, there are so many insider abuse in this government, and you know that. And you see, these contracts they are giving out on power sector is just another rush to get a cut of the national cake. I assure you, like I said, there was a time I was interviewed, not by the trust, I sworn to God that they will never finish their time elapsed.
You swore that time.
And it's come to pass now, because at least Abuja, Kaduna is not completed. It's still a death trap. And I said it, somebody was here, you can't tell me that they will definitely finish from the way they are saying and they are working. I told him, I swear to God, they will not finish it before they are gone.
But
and I gave him...
Zaria Kano, even though people said there are many portions that have not been completed also.
They have not completed them. You still get diversions. And you see, the project is Abuja, Kano. So if they are through with Kano, Kaduna, or Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, they are still not through with the project, because it's a single project, Abuja, Kano. And I said it, they will never finish it before their time is over. And it has come to pass now. So this contract they are giving out is another rush to do what was done, because Buhari's government, you can do whatever you want and go away with it, because Buhari has no clue as to what is happening.
You mean he's
he's
only signing the document saying, okay, go ahead with it, especially the last minute rush?
He's not anything they bring to him. He just signed because he is, I'm sorry, he has no capacity, and this is a fact.